Hello, I'm Steve,
And I am Danielle.
and we are
Turning two into one.
a marriage and family ministry, and so from time to time we'll get on and do videos, hopefully to inspire and encourage some people in their marriage and in their families.
Yep.
And so we're doing our Marriage Monday. We're a
Yes.
little early because it is Labor Day,
Yes, it is.
and this is a day of rest. It's supposed to be. She got me out here on the porch, looking at the grass. I got to cut the grass. I don't think I'm gonna get any rest from any labor today.
No.
However, when we looked at the history of Labor Day, it is for um, to honor those who are working. And so, what we're going to talk about for a few minutes is what are you working on?
Yes.
Just because you've been married a long time doesn't mean that you have a successful marriage. You could be at a job for a long time and walk away with no benefits. They give you a gold watch and be like, peace,
Right.
or people have gotten laid off from their jobs after they've been 20 years. We know couples that have been divorced after like 25 years of being married. So just because you're in it doesn't necessarily mean that you're working on it.
Right.
And so that's what we're talking about on today.
Yes. So I think that the Labor Day, it was enacted so that we could have a time of rest. And with rest, most times, it gives us a moment to reflect on where we are and where we've been. And it inspires us that when it is time to get back to work, that we can, from that rest and reflection, move on and make changes where necessary, and just gives you the energy to go forward. And I think that this is a great time, a great opportunity. We have a beautiful day here today. Um, it's a little overcast, but that's how
Grass is still gonna
sometimes,
get cut though.
yeah,
You know?
that's how sometimes we are in life. And sometimes we have these overcast days and things where we have the opportunity to reflect. And we want to reflect on our marriages and where we are in our marriage and see where we may need to make some changes before we get too far along. And so I think it's really important that no matter where you are in your marriage, whether it's the first year or the 15th year or the 20th year, that we have this time of rest and reflection so that we can make sure that we're on the right path. We don't want to go so far off the path that we can't get back, or it seems like how far, we have to go so far to get back to where God has caused us to be.
You know, I've heard it said about this whole concept of a ladder,
Hmm.
and you could be climbing the ladder, but it be against the wrong wall.
Yeah.
You could be doing the wrong things, thinking that you're headed in a one particular direction,
Right.
and all of a sudden you're not there, and neither is your mate.
Right.
So you need to actively be working on making this relationship better. But that means that you're going to have to step outside yourself, get some knowledge outside of yourself. Um, some books, tapes, videos, seminars. Me and Danielle, we hold a class once a month. We're
Hmm.
going to have it in this September
Yeah.
23rd, the fourth Saturday,
Yeah. And it's free.
and it is free. Um, and then we're going to have it again in October, and then we're going to take off November and December, and then we're going to start back again in January, February. But you need those kinds of fellowships and those kinds of classes, that kind of teaching, so that you're not just in the marriage,
Right.
but you're happy in the marriage.
Right.
The union, it's a union. It's not just two people living together inside of the same space, but that there's a union, and the two truly are two turning into one.
I think it's also important, as Steve mentioned, that we are having our classes coming up. And a lot of times we do things as groups because of the camaraderie and we have things that are in common. So
Mhm.
Steve and I go to the gym because we are inspired by those that are at the gym.
Yeah, yeah.
We may not even know those people, but we
No.
see the benefits of exercising and coming together. So we want to encourage you to come out to our classes and other classes, not just our classes. This is not about us. We've put ourselves out there to be a conduit because we feed off of you guys. And so we want that camaraderie to come together so that we can be on one accord in a goal, which is to have better marriages and better relationships and better families together.
And
And so,
one thing that you mentioned too about at the gym, a lot of times you'll go to the gym and you'll see guys that are all big and buff and they all cut up, and and you'll get intimidated.
right.
You be like, oh dog, I don't want to be here with him. He all sweating, he all popping it, and And I don't know that it happens so much for men, but I know it does happen for women. You see the woman that's all shapely and fit and this and that. You don't know what it took for her to get there. You don't know what it took for him to get there. And if you just get on your plan,
Right.
you just get to doing things consistently, you just get to working on you, you'll find out that in no time you'll be exactly where you want to be.
And that coming together also, when you go to the gym, you can even ask the person. Most times we're intimidated by the person, but we can even actually go up to the person and say,
Yes.
what did you do to get to
How'd
this?
you do this?
How did you do this? And they're not shy to say, this is what I did. And they're actually there to help you. So that's what we want to do.
That's what we want to do.
We want to be that person, or even in coming together, it may not be something that we've personally gone through. It could be something that somebody at the class has gone through.
Yeah.
And we can be
And
a
we can
help
share
to
that.
each other. So we want you to come on out and be assistance to other couples. You may not have gone through anything. You may have gone through a lot. You may think that nobody's gone through what you're going through.
Yeah.
But you won't know that unless you come on out and find out that everybody is going through something, and everybody has been through. There's nothing new under the sun. And so we want you to be available and have those references and people that you can find commonalities, as we do on our jobs,
Yeah.
as we do working out. We have these study groups, we have these book clubs, we have all of these things that help us on the natural side. So we want to be a help on the spiritual side, so that you find out that your labor is really not in vain.
And you got to get to working. You know, you have to actively be working on building this relationship.
Right.
So for my guys, you're going to have to listen to her. You know, they be saying a whole bunch of stuff too, boy. Just be like, whatever. However, we are not wired the same. And so it takes a little bit more of an exercise for us to sit down and quiet our minds so that we can hear what she has to say. But what I have found is that the more you listen, it seems like the less she talks. Because what's happening is it's not all built up on the inside of her. And so when you're spending time listening to her and she feels free to share, then you'll find her sharing just when you guys are just sitting there watching television, this and that. And so there won't be this build up so that when you come home, she's sitting there for like 3 hours. So that's something that we should work on actively. That's a labor. You see, guys, I know a lot of times we come home from work and hey, look, the last thing we thinking about is washing dishes or sweeping the floor, or putting clothes in the washing machine. And look, I don't wash clothes, but however, I do wash dishes. And so I try to do my part. And I hate to say my part, because I think that it's everybody's part. It's everybody's function,
Right.
You know, to make a house run smoothly. But I do extra, and I do some things without having to be asked to do it, because that's me working on me, but that's also me working on this relationship.
Right.
Because if she feels that this relationship is one-sided and that it's a laborious thing to be in, okay, then it begins to wear her down.
Right.
All right, so I'm always actively working on me, and I know that by doing the work on me, then we can have a better relationship.
Yeah. And so really what we want to do is we want to make sure that we are actually working on ourselves
And not each other.
Right.
I'm not working on her. You know.
One of the greatest lessons that I learned is that usually when I would pray early on in our marriage, it would be, you know, what Steve's doing, he's doing this, he's doing that. God, fix him. Yeah, that was what I was praying, and God would ultimately return me back to me.
Now I know.
And he would say, what are you doing? What is your responsibility in this? What am I telling you to do? You're not doing what I told you to do. So how dare you come to me with somebody else's issue or their concern when you're not actively working on yourself? Only person that you really can change is yourself.
It's yourself.
And so we have to work on and labor towards what God has called us to ultimately be. And that is better wives, better mothers, better sisters. And so in that, we have to labor and be the best that God has called for us to be, so that this can be better.
Can get better. You don't become a better husband without being a better man.
Yeah.
And you don't become a better wife without being a better woman. And so that internal work is what we're talking about. Labor.
Yes.
Working on yourself. And that's the hardest work to do.
Yes, it is.
But it's also the most rewarding work of all.
Right. And so with this Labor Day, we want you to focus on not so much as the jobs that you do outside, your physical job that you're doing when you go and you punch a clock. We want you to focus on your marriage and the labor that we have together for the kingdom. And so we want to make sure that we don't neglect.
All I do is win, 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 win. Yeah.
We don't neglect what God has called us to do in the kingdom for Him, which is to build our marriages. We spend a lot of time at work, and we want to make sure that the spiritual side is working also. So we don't want to neglect that. We know that we have to go to work and we have to do these other things outside, but we should spend today. We want you to have a new perspective on Labor Day. And that new perspective is, let's reflect and relax and remember the reason why we're together and work on our marriages.
Now, we're getting ready to end. On September 15th at First Baptist World Changers International Ministries on 8 Mile, maybe about 3 or 4 blocks from Lasser at 7 o'clock, our Apostle Linnell D. Caldwell, will be speaking and teaching on marriage.
Yes.
And I think the theme is marriage reset.
Reset.
And so if you have opportunity to, that's September 15th. That is a Friday.
It is a Friday.
And come on out and spend some time with us. We'd be happy to meet you, happy to see you. We'll be there. We'll have some friends and family there.
Yes.
And hear a word from the Lord on how to maybe reset your marriage, how to turn some things around. And you'll come to find that you're not in this thing by yourself.
Yep.
All right.
So we want to see you there with our Apostle Linnell Caldwell and our Pastor Carol Caldwell. They will be sharing, and they have a wealth of information to help you to reignite your marriage.
And don't forget, September 23rd, Saturday at 9 o'clock. The flyer will be at the end of this video. And then if you haven't seen it, check our Facebook page or our webpage, turning2into1.com. And remember,
Never give up.
never give in.
And never let go.
Bye-bye.